Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Upkick MMA episode 495. I am Brendan. All right, UFC Fight Night, Lewis versus Teixeira. This was the UFC Nashville card. This is going to be the prelims. Chris Curtis versus Max Griffin. The rest of the prelims are going to talk about all those fights. We're going to go through the scorecards. We're going to go through what happened in each round, break them down, and talk about everything that happened. Now, if you like this kind of thing, subscribe to the channel. That when the next video is coming out, and I really appreciate it. If you're looking for a specific fight, timestamps are down below. Oh, Chris Curtis. Chris Curtis. Man, can he have a definitive fight, please? It's just, I understand that he's not fighting scrubs. Max Griffin's a great fighter, but can he just have a fight where we're all like, clearly, that was Chris Curtis, that he won that one. I know he's had some, right? Yeah, he got finished by Kopylov. Yeah, and this is his first fight in the UFC at welterweight. He said he was a victim of his own success. But look at this. Brendan Allen lost via split decision. Marc-Andre Barriault won via split decision. No contest versus Imavov, right? It's just, he's just had a string of close things. Obviously, getting finished by Kopylov is whatever. I'm not going to sit here and shit on a guy for losing. I'm just saying I like watching him fight. I think that he has a unique style. Obviously, he uses that modified Philly shell, but he digs to the body so well, and he keeps his hooks tight. Right? They mentioned on the broadcast he always seems so tight, but I think that really plays in to how well he's able to defend what's coming in. And when people overextend on their attacks against him, they often leave their body open. Right? Even someone who's very diligent when they throw their jab out by bringing it back to the chin or throwing that right hand coming back up, very rarely are they throwing it out and then going like this to watch out for shots to the body. So what'll happen is they'll come in, they'll exchange, they might overextend, but then they come back up here and it leaves their body open. And Curtis is he was really doing a good job of digging that front hook to the body and coming over the top with the right hand as the fight went on. But he does such a good job digging to the body. I really love to see guys who are able to mix things up. The thing is, he wasn't digging to the body that much in the first round. Max Griffin just would not stop moving. Griffin landing with the jab, dancing on the outside, landing low kicks, very active. Chris Curtis checked the low kick early, and Griffin stumbled. I was like, oh, let's see. Maybe he's going to... Nah, that didn't really play too much into what's going on. Curtis wants to use that high shell, keep the pressure on, and wants to counter. And then Griffin kicks him in the nuts so freaking hard, and then he screams, "Oh fuck!" and then falls down. There's a headbutt that cuts Curtis open pretty bad. They're both, it was Southpaw versus Orthodox, and they both moved their heads to the side, and they hit each other, and Curtis got the worst of it. Got to have some controversy in a Chris Curtis fight. Griffin capitalizes on the pause, that pause right there, and gets some offense on him. Curtis keeps getting backed up, but Chris Curtis is able to keep backing him up. He's able to keep walking him down, but Griffin just manages to find an exit every time, whether it's like off of a jab or a right hand or throwing something out there to get Curtis to throw that shell up so he can exit, or he's just finding an exit clean, and Curtis ends up following him. He was trying to cut off the cage later on, but in his first round, Griffin was so active, so evasive, and outstruck him 21-8. It wasn't even close. Clearly his round. Now, second round, things get a little bit better for Curtis. Curtis finally lands a big right hand as Griffin exits. Griffin finds the high kick, moves in to follow, takes a right hand, and gets dropped. Great moment for Chris Curtis. I thought he was going to follow up. Griffin's tough as shit. These are savvy veterans. This was a pretty technical, good fight. I did not hate watching this. Halfway through the round, Griffin is just not circling quite as fast. Still able to avoid the sustained damage, but he's more hittable. Griffin gets him pressed against the cage, gets a break. Curtis needs the damage in the last 30 seconds. I thought Griffin outlanded him in this round. I guess I'm wrong. According to these stats, Curtis outlanded him 21-17. Looking at the head strikes, it was 15-12. So I guess he did outland him. I thought Griffin did more, right? This was a very close round for me. I thought in the moment I scored it for Griffin. I stand by the way I scored it. Okay? I think it was close. I thought Curtis landed hard shots, but I also thought Griffin landed hard shots, and I thought Griffin landed more. Again, when you're scoring these live, you don't have the benefits of looking at the striking numbers. right? As a judge, you wouldn't be able to look down at at the striking numbers, whether you think that's good or bad. I think there's an argument for both. I think the argument for having those striking numbers is giving the judges more information, but I think the argument against it is often those numbers are wrong. Those initial striking numbers that they show are not official, and they're not always correct. So, it might show that some guy is way out in front as far as strikes, but then you go and look at it later and they correct the striking numbers, and it turns out it was much closer or even in favor of the other guy. So when you score these live, you can come at me and be like, "Oh, look, Curtis outlanded him." Did you look at that in the moment? Were you counting them? Did you score it live, or did you score it afterwards? Right? I'm more than willing to discuss this stuff. I love comment down below. Let me know what you guys thought. I scored it for Griffin. Thought it was close, 20-18. Curtis now finding the body. Now he's finding the body in this third round, right? Griffin continues to circle. Griffin, I had him up with half the round left, and then Griffin's output starts to slow. Curtis starts pulling ahead, and 30 seconds left. Curtis is up, right? He's up on my scorecard. Curtis trips him and laughs at him. I thought Curtis could get the nod here, especially because he won this last round, but I had a 29-28 Griffin. The judges ended up going the other way. I did not. It's not a robbery. I don't vehemently disagree. Let's look at the scorecards here. Anthony Manis scored the first and last round for Griffin. Okay. I disagree with that. All three judges gave that second round to Curtis. Derek Clearly and Mike Bell gave that last round to Curtis as well. I think Anthony Manis's card is probably the worst one here, even though he had the same scorecard I did. I think that second round was the closer round. I thought the last round was clearly Curtis. So congratulations to Chris Curtis getting his first welterweight win in the UFC. Like I said, I love watching him fight. I'm excited for him. I hope he can put together a string of actual significant and clear wins in the division. Jake Matthews versus Chidi Njokuani. Oi. Chidi. Njokuani going with those hard kicks to the body, slinging them up top. God dang, he kicks so fast. This guy has so much skill. He really does. And this shouldn't set him back. Jake Matthews with the pressure, crowding him, right? He's crowding the kicker. Matthews with the trip in tight. He gets kind of caught in this weird clinch situation with I think an underhook on one side and an overhook on the other, and uses that to trip Njokuani. Gets right on the back, gets the standing back take, and gets the short choke and finishes him. Njokuani just could not shake him off. Excellent finish for Jake Matthews. They said that Jake Matthews has 22 fights in the UFC. 22. He's 30 years old. Yeah, he turns 31 next month. He's 30 years old, guys. He's 30 years old. And he's been fighting in the UFC for 11 years now. He's been fighting in the UFC since he was 19. Is that right? Holy shit. Wow. And he's been a consistent, win a couple, lose one, and then a win-loss fighter for the past, for 3 years. Not the past 3 years, from 21 to 24. But then this is 3 wins in a row for him. And he's only 30. And I understand in fight years he's a little bit older because he's had a lot of damage in the octagon. But god dang, guys, 22 fights at 30 years old is insanity. Congratulations. Lauren Murphy versus Eduarda Moura. Moura. Apologies. Didn't know Murphy was still fighting. This was her retirement fight, so that checks out. Low kicks from Moura, staying on the outside, landing that right hand just much faster, hits much harder. Murphy gets the takedown, walks over the top of her. I know, I'm armchair quarterbacking, of course. If I'm in that situation, do I think I could do better in that position? I don't know, but this is just my observation. She puts her hips way too high, falls off the mount, and immediately gets taken down. Both women, they end up getting back up, and they're both sucking wind. Both look tired. Moira not moving as quick. She outstruck her 19-6. Clearly her round, clearly dominant on the ground. Dominant, sorry, controlled her on the ground, 10-9. Second round, Moura throwing more and in her range more. Using her range and landing more, landing the low kicks. Murphy just not moving into range. She's just hitting air for the most part. She just refuses to step in because she's getting tagged. Murphy does have a path to victory, though. If she keeps the pressure on, Moura looks like she's going to punch herself out, which is eventually what happened. Moura gets the takedown easy, but they get right back up. Moura just leaning on her as Murphy's landing elbows. Better round for Murphy. I wanted to see how Moura recovered in this last round. Not well, turned it up in the last little bit, 20-18. Last round, Murphy is trying with her pressure, but she's still cutting her punches short, just not extending long enough, not getting into range. Murphy gets a takedown, jumps on the headlock in a deep guillotine, adjusts a few times, and then Moura grabs the shirt, which is illegal. Now, I'd have to watch it back, but she grabs the shirt to defend the guillotine, pulls her shirt down, and uses her shirt as some leverage to get out of that guillotine. Whether or not it helped, that's still illegal. It was not addressed. It was mentioned by DC. I'm glad he caught that. Moura is so tired. Murphy attempted the standing guillotine as well. Moira's wobbly on the feet. She is not a 5-round fighter. She needs to make some real adjustments, either technically or physically, to become a 5-round fighter if she wants to ever challenge for the title in this division. This division isn't exactly the hardest division in women's MMA, but she's going to need to work on stuff. Even in this round, Moura outlanded her 25-21, but those submissions were so damn close. I gave that last round to Murphy, and I think all three judges did the same. Yeah, Derek Clearly, Kerry Rowland, and Rick Winter all gave the last round to Murphy. Hats off to her. Called herself a pioneer. She wanted to thank herself. That's right. That's great. I have no problem with someone being appreciative of their own work. I find it difficult for me to do that, but I do appreciate when somebody can look at the amount of work that they've put in and appreciate how hard they fought and what they've gone through. She made a lot of mistakes in her life, made a lot of bad decisions in her personal life, turned her life around for the most part. From all evidence, it looks like that she's got her life together, got her act together, and I hope she has a clean exit from the sport and success in her future endeavors. All right, Kenny is inject. God dang, I know how to say his name, and it always trips me up. Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Valter Walker. Luckily, I don't have to say his name too much because this fight did not last very long. I was like, I wrote this before this fight started. I said, let's see if Walker lands early, gets aggressive, hurts Nzechukwu, and then gets tired, because that has happened in Kennedy's fights. Walker chases him down, landing big. I'm like, here we go. And he gets him to the ground, gets the back. And then I thought, because they said it live, that he fell off, and then immediately on the replay, I could tell he didn't fall off, and I should have known better. He uses the entry to get to double outside ashi, right? So Kennedy's legs are like this. He dives under and then puts his legs around this leg, right? So he rolls underneath, puts his legs like this, and then here's the heel of Kennedy. I know this is a bad example, but I'm sorry, guys. I don't got to practice dummy with me. And then he uses this and then attacks that heel hook and gets it. So smooth, deep heel hook right away. That's exactly what he was going for. That was his entry into that attack. He gets the finish. Incredible finish. 3 leg locks in a row. Look what this says. It says heel hook after drop to ground. All right. I gave the UFC stats, or the UFC media guy who was doing, or media person who was doing this, some credit for getting the correct choke a few weeks ago. This one seems a little weird. First of all, it's just heel hook. You could just write heel hook. Why are you saying what happened, like after? And then also, why is it after drop to ground? After drop to ground. What is this? Oh man, that's really weird. This is a $1 billion organization. I mean, I'm not the best speller in the world, but I've screwed up syntax, but come on, guys. Mike Davis taking on Mitch Ramirez. No, not you. All right. Davis really turned it on. He did such a good job in this first round with the pressure, the jab. He gets this sweet ass single leg lift and dump, DC style, right? I know DC isn't the only guy, but he's the one who came to mind when I saw that happen. He gets deep in a single, lifts him up and slams him on the ground, gets to the back. He's attacking rear naked chokes the entire round. 4 minutes and 20 seconds of control time. Not a ton of damage. Obviously, there's not a lot of striking going on here. In fact, Ramirez outstruck him 8-3 as far as significant strikes go. But the thing is, that wasn't about the first round wasn't about striking. If that control time adds up, and then the submission attempts, deep like those good submission attempts, this is essentially one-way traffic. So I actually had it a 10-8. I was justifying my 10-8 there. Second round, Ramirez on the takedown, landing some good shots along the fence. Davis might be a little tired. You know, Davis isn't a sitting duck, and he's landing back with the 1-2 and even the jab. Even though he looks like the more tired guy. I wrote this down later, but one of the things that I noticed was Davis's fundamentals are really kept him relatively safe. Obviously, Ramirez landed a lot of good shots in the second round, right? The striking numbers were 44-43. And Ramirez, he kind of punched himself out. Here's the thing. Davis, his fundamentals kept him in this. He was so good about keeping his guard up. He was landing, he was checking kicks automatically. Like his autopilot where his brain just shuts off and he goes off of muscle memory is so impressive. Go back and watch this fight, especially when Davis is tired, and you can look at you can see the evidence of why good fundamentals in any aspect of your life, but specifically in this case, striking, good fundamentals are so important. Because when worst comes to worst and you're tired, right, and everything on your body is breaking down, like your body's just telling you no more, and you're just running on autopilot, you want that autopilot to be good. And god dang, was Davis's autopilot excellent. So good. Davis was able to walk through the damage, weather the early storm, and now he's keeping pressure on, mixing up the shots of the body, going over the top. Ramirez was still fighting back, but you could tell Ramirez was starting to break. And then a jumping knee that lands kind of on the neck from Davis, and he follows up and gets the finish. Beautiful stuff. Excellent, great heart from him, great fundamentals. I love to see that kind of thing. It was really impressive. It was so noticeable, right? To a layman like me, it was so noticeable to see a guy's skill pop out like that. It was fantastic. Fatima Kline versus Melissa Martinez. I think Kline was the biggest favorite on the card. Oh, I didn't want to look at the scorecards. Nobody gave him a 10-8. Okay. Fatima Kline, Melissa Martinez. Kline taking the center early, using that jab to keep her on the outside. Martinez trying to circle. Martinez just looked lost. In this first round specifically, she kind of just looked lost. Didn't know what to do. She's kind of swinging. She landed 17 shots. She got outstruck here 32-17. And it just, Kline's landing the lead hook, the jab. Martinez either will land one or just duck and run. Like, she is running away. She's on her bike the entire time. Kline's landing these kicks up the middle. Martinez just looked lost, right? Clearly, Kline's round 10-9. Second round, Martinez starting the round frantic a little bit, right? In her face, taking the center, and then quickly falls back into the same way she was fighting in the first round. She landed almost the exact same amount of strikes, 35-18 in favor of Kline. The commentary was saying, like, much better round for Martinez. I don't think so. I think Martinez landed a couple good shots in this round, but this was not a much better round. Striking differential was actually worse. Maybe the damage differential wasn't as bad, but this was not a good round. Kline was staying in the pocket more. Martinez started to find the mark, but Kline clinches her up. Kline just looked like a much better fighter. She just looked like she had more to her game, and anytime Martinez could possibly have a slight advantage in any scenario, Kline shut it down, reset, shut it down with a clinch. She just stopped her from doing anything. Great round for Kline, 20-18. Last round, Kline has done such a good job of being the one who extends the combinations more often. She's the one throwing the 3, the 4, the 5th shot, right? Whereas Martinez might throw 1 or 2 and then exit, and she's still running away. And then, boom, Kline lands a head kick, puts her down, Damn, that was sick. Beautiful round. All three judges saw it the same way. I just wanted to make sure that there were no screw-ups here. Saul D'Amato, Anthony Manis, and Dave Torelli all gave the first 2 rounds to Kline. That didn't come into play at the end. I just wanted to verify. Anyway, that is it. That's all for the UFC Nashville. If you're looking for the main card, the main event that was in the last video, I appreciate y'all for stopping by. Subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of thing. If you find yourself liking this video, hit the like button. Appreciate you. Appreciate you guys. Have an amazing week. Love y'all. Peace.